Everyone, today, August 13, 2024, at 6 p.m., a call for order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Supervisor Aliaga.
Here.
Clerk Newbeck here. Treasurer Brown.
Here.
Trustee Morocco.
Here.
Trustee Nalamothu. Here. Trustee Ritchie.
Here.
And Trustee Tedder is absent this evening. We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have an amendment, so I need a motion to approve the agenda as presented with the amendment.
What's the amendment?
No,
Are we amending?
oh, it's amend. I saw we have something in the consent.
Oh, yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Correct. I was
Okay.
thinking I wasn't.
No,
Right.
don't worry.
I'll make a motion to amend the, go ahead, Sam.
No, I just was asking what we're amending.
There's an extra item added to the consent agenda.
Consent agenda.
Okay.
There was a Brady Lodge rental that was
Correct.
omitted.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to amend the agenda to include consent agenda item number 6, Brady Lodge rental with alcohol, Thursday, August 29th, 2024.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, we approve the agenda. We have a Board of Public Announcements. Anyone from the board would like to announce anything? Anyone? Okay, Carrie.
Just like to thank all the residents that voted on Tuesday. Out of our 30,491 voters, we had a total of 8,909 people vote, which was just under 30,000, which was a smaller turnout than our normal. Presidential primaries typically are a smaller election, but this was a little bit less than normal. I did want to comment, this is our second election for our early voting at Brady Lodge and at Bay Court and also at the Waterford Oaks. We had 180 people vote over the 9 days at Brady and 17 Independence Township residents that voted at Waterford Oaks. So that was actually even down from the presidential primary. I was surprised, being the presidential primary was during the winter, but looking forward to doing some more, I think, media on it and getting the word out and the knowledge so voters realize that this is just like Election Day. That's the way the precinct is set up. And it's just a third option for voting outside of Election Day and absentee. So I do expect a big turnout, as we always do, for the presidential in November. So we're really trying to get the word out to get that better utilized for ease for the voters. And lastly, I want to thank all the staff, township staff. We have tremendous turnout that works every election as night auditors. We have many people that live in the community that work at our precincts. I want to thank our election workers and my staff. It's a busy year this year with having 3 elections, and I want to thank all of them as well. Can't do it without all of them, and appreciate them. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Public comments. Anyone from the public would like to address to the board? Please come to the podium and state your name and address for no more than 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Eric Klein, 6486 East Lawn Avenue in Clarkston. And I just want to thank everybody on the board. I just ran for treasurer and I did not win. But Paul and I ran a good race, and Paul, you had said at the very beginning that you know, it was going to be, we were going to run for the office and not against one another, and you stuck to that, and I really appreciate the way you did it, and I tried to do it the same way. So proud for you, happy for you. I wish I would have got it, of course, but I just want to say, and congratulations to everybody else that won as well. So that's all. Thanks.
Appreciate that. Thanks a lot.
Please.
Hi, my name is Anita Burns. I live at 5100 Sashabaw Road, and I'm here today to talk about the master plan for 2030. From what I've read, they're gonna go in and take homes on the east side of Sashabaw between Maybe and Pelton and put in either detached or attached, or maybe a senior center, a senior living center or something on that property between Maybe and Pelton. Do you usually notify people that this is gonna happen? Because I just came across this by looking at the website for the township. So I don't know if you notify people about what's happening.
Thanks, baby.
Does anybody know?
I don't, Ron, can you?
I guess I can speak to it a little bit, since I'm on the planning commission as well. We are not taking any action to build anything in that area. Only thing we did was review the zoning for that area, and it basically it's single-family residence, and basically we're saying it's single-family or attached, detached homes along that is what that's zoned for.
Okay, so.
We're
if
trying to make sure it stays residential, not extend commercial down
Well,
south
right
of.
now it's residential, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so if you get it to change to commercial, you go in and you just take all those homes, there's 15 or 16 homes, do you notify?
the master plan is set, what we submitted for the master plan is the same as it has been since the late 90s, that it's staying residential. That
It's gonna stay residential.
It's zoned residential, but it's zoned not only for single-family homes, but also like attached family homes as well. But it's all family homes, so
Okay, so you're saying it's not gonna happen, it's gonna stay residential?
that's what the zoning is on the east side of Sashabaw.
Right.
Yes. Yes, that's what the
That's
master
not
plan
the way I
says.
read it, but, yeah, so I just wondered, you know, I'm very concerned about it, because I wanna know who's making the decisions to take my personal property without notifying me.
Nobody's gonna
Nobody?
take any property, so.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone online? Oh, okay.
I'd like to say something.
One second, if you don't mind. Sure,
Oh, I'm
Sure.
sorry. I thought.
sure, you can, yes.
Hi, my name's Tasha Shergan. I actually didn't finish watching the planning commission meeting from the other day, but from what I saw, I'm very disappointed that our township is, again, putting businesses before the residents. And what is the potential impact of putting in these solar panels and these charging stations at this gas station? And by the way, we don't need another gas station in this area. And again, we're going back to, it's important that we listen to the citizens, because you're elected by the citizens, and it's your job to do what we, the people, want, not what's going to be best for your political career. It's all about what's best for the residents of the township. And that's something I want you to keep in mind as you proceed in making these decisions. It must be stuff that's supported by the residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, thanks.
Hello, my name is Darwin Moore. First off, I would like to thank everybody that was involved in the primaries, everyone that ran. That takes a lot of your time, your resources to do that. So I congratulate you all on getting involved. Whether you won, congratulations. Whether you didn't, thank you very much for being involved. I hope that you don't back off and not get involved anymore, because it is citizens like you that makes the government work. Everyone wants to gripe about the U.S. politics, and it's a trickle-down effect, but we need to realize that as a local government, we need to set the bar here, set the example, and make the example to the larger governments that, hey, it can work if we work together and make it happen. So to everyone that ran, I thank you for your involvement. As a candidate, I would appreciate any support I can get. If you want to meet with me and talk, I'm happy to do that as well. So that is first. Secondly, for the last how many months, I've been up here talking about a dock issue, ordinances, enforcement of it, the ambiguous language. The more I talk to people, the more I see the discontent within the citizens. I was told at our last meeting that I would be contacted the following week. No one followed up. I have spoken with a number of you of board members. Terry, have you ever heard from your attorney?
I did, and I will be honest, I went to email, I'm glad you're here today, because I did go to email you and I don't have your email. So I'm happy to write to you if you can give that to me.
I'm happy to meet and discuss it.
Sure.
Paul, Sam, Jose, we've all talked about this. You know, I am disappointed that no one follows up with me. Jose, you sat here and said right in front of everybody, you would have your deputy contact me. We would have a meeting. You wanted to have a meeting. I didn't get a call. I didn't get anything from you. And Terry, as far as my email, I'm a candidate. I've complained. I've been here. I shouldn't be that hard to find. Just if you were doing a little bit of research or really wanted to contact me, I should not be that hard to find, okay? These are the things that make me run. These are the reasons other people have gotten involved, okay? People ask me, why are you running Darwin? Why would you want that job? Because I am so tired of the misinformation, the misguidance, the bickering, and everything else, that I want to get in and see if I can do something. I have no political aspirations to climb a political ladder. I am not here to try and profit off the community, but I have lived here my entire life. I plan on staying here, but I am disgusted in the way things are going, the misinformation and everything that is put out there. So I'm going to ask again, I want a letter releasing me from a court order that is ridiculous. Every one of you has said it's ridiculous. But for some reason, somebody behind the scenes has a sweetheart deal and is keeping me from enjoying every right that every other citizen has here. And you can't give me a reason why. You will not give me anything in writing. You will not follow up with me. You have no reasoning, okay? It is terrible. I do have a flyer here I put on the table. As an independent, I had to go out and get signatures because I couldn't pay to play like a Republican or Democrat. I had to go out and get 300 signatures maximum to get qualified. I was qualified. I got, as I said before, misinformation from the clerk's office. I am hoping that was misinformation and not a intentional misdirection, okay? I don't know, but I am hoping it was misinformation, and I'm hoping we can work to get these things corrected. On the front, it talks about my values, a little bit of who I am. I have a website, Vote for Darwin, the number 4, votefordarwin.com. I appreciate people going to it and looking at it, giving me your input. There is a form on there so you can give me your concerns. But I have every intent of being involved in this and trying to make some difference in this community, because it is terrible. You go out and talk to people, and I don't know if you guys are hearing, well, obviously you're not hearing them. I don't know if you're going out and talking to them or not, but I can't find anybody that's happy with how things are going. The project across the street, what do they call it? The Meyer Project, the Walden Project, whatever you want to call it. Everyone says they didn't vote for it. You know, it shouldn't be there. The density is too much. But obviously, it's proceeding. I don't know who voted for it. I don't know how it got there. But no one is taking credit or blame or however you want to say it for it. Have the integrity to stand up for what you believe or what you did or anything else. This project is not just a result of this administration. It's been in the planning, and it's been in the works for a while, I'm sure. But people need to start letting us know what's going on. Just like the lady just talked about her property. I'm not sure what's going on there. The master plan is a master plan. It doesn't mean anything's being taken. You talked about litigation. I know of no litigation. You've You have provided me nothing in writing, Jose. Again, my name is Darwin Moore. I live at 9165 Evie. I don't think I gave that at first. I am here to help whoever wants to work on this. You as a board, congratulations to you that won. Those that didn't, I hope you stay involved. You've been on the board a long time, Ron. You've got a wealth of information. I hope that you're willing to share that and pass it along to the next people, because I'm sure there is data in that information that could be very useful to the next member that takes your place. Other than that, I'm asking you to please help me get this dock solution resolved. I'm asking the community to give me a fair chance, and if they see that, then I think they will see that I'm the better candidate. Thank you.
Thank you, Darwin. Anyone else? Okay, moving along. We now have a public hearing. Presentation and report. Treasurer Brown.
So this is every quarter. I'm sure a lot of folks in the room will have now seen this before. Those that haven't will get a feel for this. This is a required report. The state requires this of the treasurer to present a report explaining the investments the township holds. And so this is what I've put together. And I'm going to start up at the top of this. I usually do a little overview of what's happening out there, and that will lead me to then discuss where rates are going and the performance of our portfolio. So everyone's aware there's been some volatility, and although this is from June 30th, when I talk about volatility, I'm talking about recent. So everyone knows there was just a big drop in the market, then it came back again. So that's what I'm talking about, the volatility. There was some weaker than expected job numbers that came out that precipitated that drop in the market. And so that volatility can always impact our gains and losses for what we hold, because our items are driven by interest rates, and volatility can then affect the interest rate. So it's likely the Federal Reserve is going to start lowering rates. Third quarter, fourth quarter, I guess if someone could know that for sure, they could make some money. But it's very likely before the year's out, rates will start going back down. I've continued the approach I've been using now for the better part of a year and a half, which is to take advantage of the high rates that are out there. And with the understanding the rates are going to start coming down, continue to start putting money a little bit further out, multiple years out for smaller amounts. So we then know we have that 5.5% interest on those investments that will benefit us over the next few years. Average weighted yield, again, is continuing to tick up as the items that were lower interest rates have matured. That has a direct impact on my weighted average of the maturities I'm getting, because since November of 2022, my average rate of return is almost 5%. And so these smaller ones dropping off are impacting the overall average weighted maturity. Average weighted yield. Unrealized losses as of 6/30/2024. For this part, I'd actually like to show the history of this going back to September 2022. Again, this is impacted by interest rates, primarily. If you were to go back to 2019, the interest rates were still very low, and unrealized gains and losses was a gain of $69,000. So we were essentially even. The increase in the interest rates over time had that impact of creating an unrealized loss in our portfolio of about $1.3 million as of September of 2022. And again, that's impacted, and I'm going to go, as we talk about that, I want to show you a couple of items where you see The 460,000 unrealized losses, almost half of it is in just two holdings. So when I go to, so on this one here, you guys are gonna, I have to see if I can, you guys can see that. Anybody, can the audience see my mouse down here?
No, we cannot.
Yeah, it's a little
Cannot
bit too
see.
low. Let me see if I can blow that up. I could see that here, so. I'll make it so you can see it. All right, there. So down here at the bottom, you've got two things down here. There was an investment bought in March of 2021, almost $2.5 million federal mortgage home loan. So that's a U.S.-backed government security. Safest investment, one of the safest investments in the world. That's at 0.67% interest rate. Back when they were that low, that's what the rates were. But it was out at, it doesn't mature until 2026, so it was a 5-year maturity. So as interest rates went up, our losses on that grew. And they grew by a lot. Between that one and the one on the next line, where there's an $87,000 unrealized loss, that's where I indicated those two are almost 230,000 between them, half of our unrealized loss. So this is predictable, and that has now shrunk. We've got smaller losses on those now because we're now getting closer to maturity and getting closer to the likelihood of interest rates being dropped. As soon as they drop interest rates down a little bit, those losses will decrease. They'll take a jump and decrease even more. So I think that's a good example so people can understand why we end up having these unrealized gains and losses, and they're not unusual. It's going to be very typical when our pattern of investment is in highly secure, interest-driven securities like treasuries and government-backed notes. So let me put this back out so we can see it. A lot of these things haven't changed much. One of the things it has is going to be my maturity distribution. The amount of money that's available in one day has jumped, and I'll show you why. Interest rates on liquidity items have really gone up. So I've got a liquid money market with JP Morgan Securities. It's paying, and I'm going to show it to you here. Up here, 6 million, let me just make it a little bigger. $6 million. It's at JP Morgan Securities, and I can get it out tomorrow, and that's in it's kind of a pooled investments that, again, is based on treasuries, super safe investment for the township, but I'm earning 5.3% on it, and I can get the money out tomorrow. So it's a really good opportunity. These other ones are also where we have money in our investment accounts that is not reinvested. I'm at, at 5 this one here is a sweep account. So one of the big changes I made, and it's probably the last thing I'll talk about before I sort of wrap this up. I don't want to throw too much at people. We've always had a lot of cash in our checking accounts. One thing you've rarely saw on the financial statements are bank fees. So anyone who has a business knows businesses pay a lot of money in bank fees. It's not like your personal checking account. When it's a business account, the banks charge you. They charge you for every check. They charge you for every ACH transaction, incoming money. They make money on that. When you have money in a business account, most of the larger banks give you what they call a fee credit. So if I have $2 million in a checking account, they would give us, right now it's a little over 2%, as a fee credit to be used against the bank fees. And that's been done this way since well before I became treasurer, and so you would never see bank fees on the bank statement because we always end up with enough credits to wipe out the bank fees. For a while in the beginning, back in 2013, I kind of wanted to show the bank fees and then an offset for them. But the complexity of trying to get someone to do journal entries and post them, and it just was a lot of work without a lot of return. Because interest rates are so high now, and I set up this sweep account. So at the end of every single day, all the money that's in our general checking account is swept out into this sweep account, earning 4.78%. It goes back into the account the next morning. But it's as if overnight, I made 4.7% on it. And the township made that on it. And so from now on, I'm gonna have to bring something back to the board to make an amendment in my budget for the treasurer's office, because we're gonna start paying bank fees. And the difference between doing it that way is 2.5%. Because if I'd left the money in the bank account, we would've got a fee credit of 2%, right? And no one would ever see a bank fee. But because I'm sweeping it, we're gonna make 4.78% interest and pay the bank fees, which would be, I don't know, maybe 2% worth of what it would have been. There'll be a lot, they may be 30, 40 grand a year. Those include our lock boxes where the payments come into. We talked about automation and how we utilize all these electronic ways to process payments. And, you know, we've got the same amount of labor in the treasurer's office, actually less than we had 30 years ago. Utilizing these features that these banks have is an important thing. That's gonna come at the next meeting where I'll do a budget amendment so that everyone understands we're paying bank fees. I'll bring some history on bank fees so you sort of see what they've been in the past. And going forward, we'll see those because it's well worth it for us to do it this way. And make as much as we can on the money and go ahead and pay the bank fee as we come out ahead. I'm getting ready to do projections for next year's interest income. And the interest that's earned from these investments is spread out to each fund based on the fund's percentage of our pooled cash that belongs to each of them. Fire department, police department, water and sewer. Each of them get a piece of the interest income on the portfolio, depending on that proration of whatever it is. I have to try and do a projection for next year. I think we're still gonna do very well. We beat last year's by 800,000. So 2023 was 800,000 over our budget in interest income because these rates and because we pulled all the money out of the county where the rates were lower and got this on it. I still see us trying to earn something close to what we earned in 2024. Even with rates dropping, we should still do really well for 2025. I think the projections the 2 years after that, we're gonna drop those. We wanna be conservative. I'd rather be too low than too high and have it budgeted and come in under. So I did have my meeting with the Investment Advisory Committee, and they've approved me bringing these forward. For folks who aren't familiar with that, we have an Investment Advisory Committee made up of some folks who are brokers. There's 5 residents and 2 board members. And they review the things I've done. We have discussions about my strategy. At the end of the day, I have full authority to make the investments. It's a statutory authority. But I think it's a great thing for me to have that input from folks who are probably smarter than me about some of this. And so they did support me pulling this forward, and they like the strategy that's in place right now. So, any questions?
Ron?
Just a clarification, you always scare me when you do this presentation. So you talked a lot about.
Oh, I want to say one other thing. The only reason we're not recognizing the losses is because I'm not selling the stuff that has the losses.
There you go.
Sorry, go ahead.
There
What
you
were
go.
you going to say?
That's my usual rant.
Yeah, it gets me on that.
Paul talked about.
I did say that.
Yeah, Paul talked about losses. The loss, we only incur a loss. We didn't lose any money. We would only lose the money if we had to sell those investments. And we did not, we are not planning on selling them, so
If you took
there is
those
no
2
loss
I
of money.
showed that had the big losses on them, if I sold them tomorrow, we're going to recognize a $230,000 loss. I do not plan on selling them, nor do I need to. I know I have plenty of money for the next year or 2, and so I'll always protect against the need to sell those. But if it happened, we would recognize a loss.
Right. That's why it's listed as realized losses. So.
I'll add one other thing on that. For a long time, townships weren't required to report their unrecognized losses. And that became a huge problem some years back because suddenly things turned bad and cities went bankrupt and no one knew it was coming. So the Government Accounting Standards Boards has made the rules that our financial statements now have to disclose these unrealized gains and losses. It's a requirement, and if we didn't do it, our financial statements wouldn't be approved by our auditors. So it's a good thing that we report this so the public knows our true financial position.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
Okay, and next we have a presentation from the Road Millage Exits Fund. Sam, you gonna do the presentation?
I guess so.
Oh, well,
Jennifer, can you help me fire it up? I haven't done that before.
okay.
You
Right,
got the
chime in
IT?
anytime you want. You're
Chime
part of
in.
this.
I brought my printout here.
So where did you put it?
I didn't put it anywhere. John put it on there. Is that it, right? That's the millage right there? Yep.
That's it?
Now, how do you advance it? What do you click on?
You just click on the space bar or something.
I don't have a keyboard up here.
Oh, it's underneath.
Team effort.
You gotta do this.
Page up or down.
Yep. Nope.
What do you normally have?
Just page up and down here.
Or you can do right here. Here, hold on. Let me set it up so you can.
Presentation first.
Yep. There.
Okay.
So it's up at the top right now, and you just keep hitting this down button.
Okay.
Start the
So I use
presentation.
these two here. The arrows are up and up.
And just use the arrows and put you on the slide.
When does it start the presentation? We haven't done it yet.
I can just click on
Wonder
the
view,
slide too,
Ron.
probably manually.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Is this your
Click
first
on
page
view,
in your
Ron.
slide?
That is
I
the
didn't see
first
your slide.
page.
It is the first page.
View.
What is
Your
it?
left.
Oh, view, okay. What is it at? Normal.
Can we just click on the things on the left as we go with the mouse?
Where's the IT person?
Where's the mouse?
Right there.
Okay. So you go to slideshow and you go to from beginning. And then you just click to go through.
There you go. Steve.
Okay.
I'll stay here and hold
That, you want to run your band? I'll talk, okay. All right, I'll talk loud enough though, you run it.
It's up to you.
I just want to give everybody a heads up on what happened here. We were asked earlier in the year to do
Sam,
a.
can you in the microphone so people
Okay,
can hear
I
you
just
know?
thought they could
Sure.
hear me, all right.
The microphone.
So we were asked earlier this year, trustee Tedder, trustee Ritchie and myself, to try to come up with some ideas of what to do at the road millage and put some sort of a comprehensive presentation together of different options that we would have. The intent of tonight is just to tell you where we got with it, not to take questions and discuss it. We want to do that at the next meeting. But it's a lot of information, and we want everybody to be able to digest it and then actually come back at the next meeting with some comments and other suggestions, hopefully, to add to it. But this is basically where we're at right now is with what we've come up with to do it. So some of the people want to know, where did the money come from? Why did we end up with overages? So one of the reasons Ron explained to me was the construction started a year later due to the increased asphalt prices.
So we rebid it multiple times during that year.
So it went out for bid, got rebid, the bids came down from the time that we had bidded and based the millage on that amount. Additional construction in the township and investment into the township also added dollars into the tax funds after it was established, and along with the delayed start, that even put more additional tax money into the millage than anticipated. And there were also some smaller sections of asphalt along some of the roadways that didn't need repair at the time, so they didn't go to outshoots and take out some approaches and things, and that led to some decreases in some of the cost also. So I kind of broke it down into slides of different sections. So the original money that the taxpayers paid into the millage, returning the funds was one option. We don't think it's a very viable option. It seemed to be cost prohibited. A lot of the money would go back to commercial businesses, and people that paid into it all of those years that moved away would need to be located, and the money would need to go to them. We all agreed that the money would be better spent on the roads that it was intended for, since it's a significant amount of money. and that to be used to pre-identify roads and potential others with similar characters as were used to establish the original list, be repaired when needed with remaining funds. It could include small sections that were not replaced originally. There are and will be future repairs that will need to be addressed if the county does not. That's what got us in this situation in the first place. The Department of Public Works and other township employees could identify the roads needing spot repairs or a section of road that's not slated to be replaced by the county but is needing repair may also be a candidate for those funds at the board's discretion. So we basically, sum it up, we think that the money that you paid for the road should go into the original intent should go into the roads. We believe that the interest on the money that was made from that money and the delay is not money that was paid by the taxpayers. It was money that was generated from the millage money while it was there and what's been remaining there collecting interest. So we believe that it would be better used to additionally incentivize neighborhood road improvement programs and SADs. We got a real problem with the roads. The neighbors can't get 51% of the people to do the SAD. The math's not working. It's either not amortized enough, we're not contributing enough, or the people aren't willing to contribute enough, and the roads aren't going to get fixed on their own. So the unused, so the part of that is that we think that we should take that interest money and put it into a kitty that would help us raise our contributions to neighborhoods who want to participate in SADs, and hopefully get to a point where that balance would make it where they would get the 51 votes and be able to eventually do the project.
Still go to roads, and just go to not the specific roads that the village was for.
Right.
Neighborhood
Not using millage money, but the interest on the money. We also have a program in the township where we have $250,000 a year annually budgeted to contribute to road projects in the township for residential residents. And most people don't even know that the program exists. That's another part of our suggestion, is to get that word out. But at the end of the year, the unused funds end up going back into the general fund, and we want to have that. We think that we should let that money stay every year, and what's not used go into the accumulation fund to help with contributions. So instead of returning that $250 that we already allocate, we would roll that over. Last year, if I remember correctly, Wingate was the only subdivision that applied for it. We were willing to match 10% for their road improvements. They spent $56,000 by increasing their annual dues, generating money, accumulating it, and then investing in road repairs instead of replacements to stay on top of their roads before they get so deteriorated they need to be replaced. And our contribution to them was only $5,600 out of $250,000 that didn't get used last year by neighborhoods. So definitely an underutilized program.
And that $250,000 is not taxpayer money. That's money that we collected from the
Waymaster.
the Waymaster, or the police department for fines and stuff that for trucks that are overweight and everything driving down our roads.
So we're truly trying to accumulate as much money as we can to help offset the cost of the private road repairs for the residents with money that isn't taxpayers' money. So we would not return that unused money. We'd put it back in, let it accumulate, hopefully getting a higher max contribution to increase residents' participation. That's what we would hope the intent would be. As far as township actions, we think the township needs to take an active role in promoting options, providing support, helping groups get the information out on the programs and the assistance that we can provide. I think a lot of neighborhoods don't understand that we have that program. Possibly start a website with an interactive page that would allow residents to track proposed and ongoing road repairs, and the township could also use that to report to the county quicker problems with the roads that they need to repair, and if they wouldn't repair them, then we would be able to do that. The possibility of doing lower cost SADs. Not sure if the township can do this, but to get an SAD instead of a full replacement, just do an SAD for necessary repairs and possibly extend the years to make it more affordable for the residents. All the neighborhood roads that the county will not maintain need to have some residential investment in the roads. We're all in agreement on that. That's how it's always been. They're not the township taxpayers' roads. You've got to at least contribute some money if you want the road in front of your house paved. But these are all ideas to try to offset that cost for you the best that we can. We think that the township could do a better job engaging lobbyists and trying to find other kinds of funds. We really got burned on the mass transit tax. That didn't end up going to the roads. And then maybe increase the max percentage of the township's contribution in dollar amounts to better the odds that we could get the 51% neighborhoods to approve an SAD for them. And then for the county, Yep, goes back to the mass transit. We all felt that maybe there should be a little bit more effort put in by the supervisors of all the North Oakland County towns that are not benefiting at all from the mass transit millage, and put a little more pressure on the county to help us with our roads, since we're paying to fix them for them. That would be a good argument.
The mass transit millage is 10 mills, and it's for 10 years. I think it's only 2 years into that. And I guess everybody's roads, cities, townships, all the roads are in poor shape. So what we're saying is we need to get everybody together in Oakland County and converge on the county commissioners and everything we need to get that millage changed so we can utilize some of that money for neighborhood roads. Just like our neighborhood road improvement project, we think there should be a countywide one of those for everybody to utilize.
Yep, so possibly ask for a couple mills back for a couple years to help with the road repairs, possibly reimburse the money that we spent already to fix the roads for them from the original millage that we shouldn't have been on the hook for. And also, one of the ideas was that when communities do want to do an SAD and fix their own roads, that possibly the county, we could negotiate them to provide the engineering services for the residents to pay to fix the county's own roads. At least they could kick in for some engineering. That would offset some of the cost. And that's out there for everybody to digest until the next meeting.
Okay,
Nice job.
thank you.
I'm not gonna take any questions.
Sure, is somebody,
General.
you would like? Yeah, yeah, can you, do you mind going to the podium? Yeah, thank you.
Mark Ranch, 6677 Langle Drive. We did a SAD in our neighborhood, and about 7 years ago for the roads. And I was wondering, would there be any discussion? What I found out was the county charges interest on these SADs. So in our subdivision, when I went down to pay, it was like $8,000 I paid. Well, the county's charging me interest. I was just wondering if there's any possible way, as we're doing the roads, there could be communication with the county that they don't charge interest on these SADs to the roads. Because the moment the county comes and they do the SAD, you're paying interest to the county that moment. So if I owed like $8,000, I went down and paid $1,000. They said, well, it's, I still owed like, it's like a car payment almost, So that might be one thing you might want to look at, is if they could communicate with the county to say, hey, on these SADs, the roads are in such disrepair that you stop the interest the county charges on the SADs to the neighborhoods. So you wouldn't have any interest at all to the SADs. That way, maybe you get the neighborhoods more motivated to do it, because that's one thing I was shocked at when I went down to pay. Like, their county is charging interest on these SADs and making money on this. So that's my 2 cents.
It's a good suggestion.
I could say that kind of was one of our bullet points where we talk about lower cost SADs. I guess to say you're not going to pay interest, those have legal implications. So interest might be in there, but maybe we can get it to be lower or part of the overall fixed cost.
Paul?
The other problem you will face is the availability of funds to fund these over a long period of time. Statistically, by charging interest, we know people are going to pay them off. A lot of people will pay them off earlier. If we don't charge any interest, no one would ever pay these off. They'd absolutely take as long as they could to do it. And so then you start reducing the pool of money that's available. The township's getting ready to, I think, if the board chooses to do it, to fund a special assessment district on a public road, but we're leaving the county out of it, because the homeowners can better steer that to be done at a fraction of the cost and come out with something that's gonna last a long time. Now, township's gonna charge the same interest rate that the county does, 6%. And I don't know legally if we could do that without charging interest. I don't know the answer to that, but I know practically, when we did the SAD for Abington Park, half that money had been paid back within 24 months. People were just paying it off because they didn't want to pay any interest, and so that would have an impact on the funds available, because we don't have unlimited resources, so.
Correct. I'm just saying at the county level, that if you didn't pay, if there's a lien on your house, then the county would have a lien on your
Yeah.
house.
Mm-hmm.
So they're gonna get their money. You go to sell your house, you gotta pay the county back with interest. So
I just,
that's something the township can do.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
I also know the county. I don't envision the county saying, sure, we won't charge interest, because there's a trade-off to that. If the money they have, they'd have it invested making interest. So to not charge interest means all the other taxpayers are chipping in towards that, because taxpayer money is no longer earning interest, rather it's being loaned for free to residents, which I think causes a problem for the folks who don't participate in SADs. That's where I would see a bit of unfairness, that you're taking taxpayer money and loaning it out without charging any interest on it, but everyone's not getting the loan. And so, again, I can't speak for the county, but
Right.
that would be,
But we can check on it.
Very good point, you know?
yeah.
I don't have a question.
Joette Kuntz, 9740 Reese Road. I had a representative of the Oakland County Road Commission out on my TV show in June, which is Inside Independence, and it's available on Independence Television. One of the things that you might consider, the township has the ability, if the Road Commission does the roads, they have a 10-year repayment plan. Is that correct, I assume?
Typically.
10-year. But the township can have a 15-year repayment plan. Now, the two things that you need to think of as a taxpayer is, well, if I'm not going to be there for 15 or 10 years, you could put it in your agreement, your sale agreement, that they will assume it because they really are going to be driving on the roads, and then they have to agree to it. But that does give 15 years. A life of a road is 20 years, according to the Road Commission, so.
Hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Wrap it up.
I just have two questions. Darwin Moore, 9165. When you were giving your presentation, did I hear correctly that the interest money this earns is not the taxpayers?
yeah, we don't consider it to be money paid by taxpayers.
Okay, because I thought I heard that the interest this money receives is not the taxpayers'
No, it's the
money.
taxpayers' money. We just don't believe that it was paid by the taxpayer, so I feel a little bit more comfortable with using it to go to other taxpayers in the community.
Okay, but the money that is earning it has been donated by the taxpayers, correct? I just want to make
Yes.
sure I'm clear.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you also mentioned private road repair. Are you talking about private roads or county roads that are more subdivision?
County roads.
Okay, thank you.
I meant neighborhood roads when I said private roads. Jim's online too. I don't know if Jim wants.
Yeah. No, it's all right.
Jim, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, hi everyone, and I regret that I couldn't be here personally. I 2 years in the making, a family trip that was simply not something that I could do a 180 on. But yeah, I thought we had a fruitful conversation back in May, and as you can hear from some of the residents' comments and comments from the past, that the neighborhood roads were one of the biggest concerns. But at the same time, as we discussed at the board meeting a couple months ago, that in fact the road money was dedicated to primary roads, and that was the focus of that. But and to clarify, yes, we fully acknowledge that the interest derived from taxpayer money, and that does belong to taxpayers. But we've also heard that neighborhood roads are among the biggest concerns when we're talking about roads. And I thought we had a great conversation. You heard some of the highlights tonight, that we are committed to trying to find a way to promote SADs better and to see if and to what extent we are able to add money over the long haul to support those projects. So we'll look forward to more conversations at the upcoming board meetings. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. I guess, yes, Paul.
Just one more point on the SADs. And incoming trustee Hayward, his neighborhood's actually preparing to do a special assessment under what we really think is kind of a new model. Some private roads were done this way 5 years ago, and that's where the township only acts as the bank. The township is not putting out the bids. The township is not hiring the engineers. The township is only approving the SAD. The homeowners are negotiating with the contractors. They're doing the engineering, and that worked out well on the private roads. This, if approved, would be the first time we do this on public roads. The road commission's fine with it, and they require a permit to be pulled, but we're gonna have public roads that just wanna do a mill and fill and repair some curbs, and this is over in Spring Lake North subdivision. And I think it's moving forward. The numbers came in very low relative to what it would have cost had the road commission come in and done what they typically do. And so I'm really hopeful that this is gonna sort of set the template for what we can do on a lot of the public roads by leaving the road commission out of it, but getting folks something that is much more affordable and still with, 10, 15-year life. And so we're pretty excited about it. That's gonna come before the board here in the near future for approval once they've got their signatures collected and their things in order through the assessing department.
Okay, thank you, Paul. That's all right, Sam?
Yeah, that's it. I think
Okay.
that the way we did it is a way the residents can watch it again on YouTube, mull it over, make some suggestions, think about it, and then at the next board meeting, I would recommend that we put it on there for discussion and get the input from the residents on it.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Moving along, okay, we now have a carryover or postponed agenda items. Moving to consent agenda. Number 1 is request to approve the Board of Trustees regular meeting minutes of July 23rd, 2024. Let me see, right here. Then we have the 2 requests to approve the August 5th, 2024 check run, including the ACH, $3,546,962, and ratify the July 19, 2024, and August 2nd, 2024 payroll of $382,212.13, and then the $389,619, and the April, May 2024 EFT ACH wire activity of $670,681.92, and the $252,225.90. 3, request to adopt the resolution number 2024/018, participating opium settlement for Kroger 2024. 4, request to approve Brady Lodge rental with alcohol Saturday, September 7, and 2024. 5, request to approve 2024 budget amendment number 25, land purchase at 5854 Dixie Highway. 6, request to approve Brady Lodge rental with alcohol Thursday, August 29, 2024. I need a motion for the consent agenda as presented.
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Regular business. Number 1, request to approve the first amendment to intergovernmental agreement with the DDA. Bring.
So this isn't a simple amendment to an existing agreement with our DDA. Basically, the township is going to provide if this agreement is approved, of course, insurance coverage for 5854 Dixie Highway. There's no associated premium increase if that agreement's approved tonight. So I'm available to answer any questions, but pretty straightforward.
Any questions?
No?
Okay. All right, I guess I need a motion.
I'll move to approve the First Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement between the Charter Township of Independence and the Charter Township of Independence Downtown Development Authority for the lease of the property located at 5854 Dixie Highway, and authorize the township supervisor to execute the same.
Support.
Okay, motion has made by trustee Nalamato and support by trustee Morocco. Is a roll call?
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Treasurer Brown?
Yes?
Trustee Morocco?
Yes.
Trustee Nalamothu?
Yes.
Trustee Ritchie?
Yes.
And Supervisor Aliaga.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Okay, this is the last one. This is for the request for the creation of superintendent position and appoint interim superintendent. So is this gonna be a presentation or is a
Yep.
presentation?
So we have a video of, that explains the process for the residents to watch. The people that are in it are all local people in Southeast Michigan for the most part, and it basically gives everybody a basis for the conversation. So to start with learning a little bit about what that process is, having a manager run the township and his duties and the pros and cons of it from people that are actually doing it.
We've been asked by a number of communities around Michigan to come and describe the council manager form of government, or the city manager form of government, as it's sometimes called. And we really didn't have, a good way to do that. I mean, didn't have good information, certainly not man-on-the-street testimony.
No offense, but if you still think stocks, real estate, or crypto are the best passive income investments in today's economy, I'm sorry, but you got it wrong.
There's power in a variety of ways. Okay, so.
Form of government, or the city manager form of government, as it's sometimes called. And we really didn't have, a good way to do that. I mean, didn't have good information, certainly not man-on-the-street testimonial kind of information from mayors and council members and other city managers. So we thought that this video would be just that kind of product that we could use to take to communities who are interested in exploring this form of government.
And I would hope that this video helps people understand how things work. I think part of the purpose of the video is advocacy. I think that it's pretty clear that we're advocating a particular form of government. But I think the primary purpose is educational. People need to understand how it works, because that's the only way that they're going to be able to influence the decisions that get made.
To be honest, I really don't know that much about local government. How does it affect me? Local government matters to most folks. When they get up in the morning and brush their teeth, when you turn the water on, that's local government at work. When you flush the toilet, that's local government at work. When your garbage gets picked up, that's local government at work.
When you think about what municipal governments do, they do very complex things, right? You're talking about, you know, how many police officers should you have, and fire and firefighters, and roads and sewers and water, and this stuff is very complex.
Local government is actually the critical part that touches the citizens. Most of the problems that we encounter on a day-to-day basis are locally based, and that's why the form that local government takes is critically important to the citizenry.
While this largest city in Michigan does have a strong mayor form of government, that is not the case in the second largest city. There's a difference in the organizational chart significantly from one form to the other, from a Detroit to a Grand Rapids.
Oh, wait a minute. So there are different forms of local government?
In the U.S., there's essentially two forms of local government structures. There is the mayor-council form, often called the strong mayor form, and there is the council-manager form, often called the city-manager form. The mayor-council form is modeled after the structure used by the federal government. It is designed to be a divided powers model where you have legislative power and you have executive power. You have the mayor of the city who is in charge of running the city, you know, running all the operations, hiring people, and acts very similar to what a president would. And then you have the city council, which functions similar to the Congress in its role of overseeing what the mayor is doing and checking the mayor's power in a variety of ways.
Okay, so with the strong mayor form, power is divided between an elected mayor who runs the city and hires staff, and the city council who passes legislation. So what's the council manager form?
The council manager form, also called the city manager form, was born in a response to corruption in the earliest 20th century. It is designed along a business model where you have a CEO, the city manager, and you have a board of directors, which is the city council and the mayor acts as a president of the board. And in this model, political power is consolidated into the city council, whereas the mayor and the city council acting together. And the city manager then runs the administration, hiring, firing people in the organization.
So just like the board of directors of a company hires a CEO, someone trained to run that kind of business, the council of a council manager community hires a professional city manager, someone trained to run cities. Got it. So how many cities and counties actually use the council manager form?
Across the country today, almost half of all cities in excess of 2,500 population have a city manager form of government. And if you look at cities here in Michigan, for example, that number approaches 3/4.
I had no idea. So what about the people who work in the council manager form of government? What do they think about it?
From a city employee's perspective, the council manager form of government is very, very important to me. I've worked under that form for the past 22 years, and the benefits of it are that the head of our organization, the individual that runs the day-to-day operations of our city, the city manager, has received substantial schooling and education in the form of the latest management techniques, and brings to the organization a wealth of experience, not only what they've learned within our city, but the cities where they have previously worked.
Competent management makes all the difference, and I think that the only way to guarantee competent management is to have professionally trained people who know the terminology, who understand how the processes work, who can navigate all the complications.
As a teacher, there's a premium in my field, especially on training and being qualified, being highly qualified for what you do. And I think the same applies to city managers. These managers are specifically trained for the job that they do. They know what they're getting into. They know how to handle certain situations.
Typically, that doesn't happen in strong mayor communities. Anyone who meets the basic qualifications to run can run for mayor, and they can have little or no management skill whatsoever.
To believe that
I, as a citizen, could go in and know how to deal with road construction, deal with water and sewer issues, deal with public safety and all of the issues that are related to that and all the equipment that they need.
Look, before I was mayor of the city of Holland, I was a high school teacher. I was a high school history teacher. When I was first elected to the mayor's office, one could honestly ask themselves the question, if we had a strong mayor form of government, and what background would I have had? What kind of training, what kind of preparation coming out of a teacher preparatory four-year liberal arts college would I have had to bring into the mayor's office? And the answer would have been absolutely none.
I think I'm very good at setting visions and thinking about things on more of a broad scale, but when it comes to actually enacting them and looking on a daily basis, is this working, is that working, I don't have the training to do that.
And certainly in Michigan, if we look at some of the cities that are facing some of the difficulties that they are, is that the people that are given those huge responsibilities of running what amount to multi-million-dollar public corporations just don't have the skills to do that.
I don't know that any business would hire a chief executive to manage the business operation and hire an individual who has no background whatsoever in that business.
Mayors and other elected officials are not elected for their professional acumen and understanding of how to run cities. City managers are hired for that very reason.
So the fact that the council manager form of government guarantees professional management of the city seems pretty important to the people who work in the government. But what does it do for somebody like me?
The ordinary citizen can rest assured that their tax dollars are being handled in the same way that a business would handle its own revenues.
Managers are trained to do the kind of cost analysis, to become familiar with the kinds of things that are being done by other cities, the best practices, as we call them, in implementing those policies of the city council to the best of their ability.
Before we switched to city manager form, when we still had a strong mayor form of government, hires of department heads and consequently of city workers was highly politicized. And so that you couldn't guarantee that you had the strongest manager in a department, or, the most competent management in a department, because those very high power and powerful and important positions were likely to be filled by people on the basis other than their competency.
I have many friends and colleagues who are employed in cities that have the strong mayor form of government, and it's my perspective that those organizations are much more political, not only at the top, but throughout the entire organization, because the employees are well aware that 4 years from now or 2 years from now, there can be a wholesale change of the leadership structure once a new election takes place.
Strong mayors typically put the decision makers from their former life around them. And we see this often in major cities. Those people don't have government experience either. So again, I go back to, as a taxpayer, what do I get for that? I get an administration that has such a learning curve that even if they finally get it, it's going to take them months, if not years.
With a council manager form of government, I believe the citizens get the best value for their dollar. And the reason is, when the council hires a city manager or city administrator, they're hiring a professional person that's been trained professionally and has the education background to deal with the issues that will come up in a city.
The downstream impact for that kind of professional training is that you get much better performance from your local government. I think, as you can see from some of the cities around Michigan, in particular the ones that are in financial receivership, every single one of those is a mayor-council system, or was a mayor-council system. And so you can see the costs of bad judgment, the cost of making mistakes can be significant.
Let me see if I've got this. In the council manager form, since a professional manager is overseeing operations and hiring the best qualified people, there will be fewer mistakes, and my taxes will be spent better. That makes sense. But now that we're talking about it, I think some of the cities that I'd like to visit are strong mayor cities. Does that mean they're not well run?
Big cities can function well with a mayor-council form, but you are so vulnerable to the particular mayor that you get, right? I think we can look around the country and we can see some people that seem to be pretty effective, executives for their city, but you're very vulnerable to that. And it simply depends on having qualified people that are going to run.
It's the luck of the draw. I mean, you really have no control whatsoever in terms of who steps forward to run for that office. And they may have some background, or they may be able to grow into the job, or they may be just awful for the job. So it's a crapshoot who you're going to get if you rely on an elected official to take the job of mayor and to act as the city's chief executive officer.
We may have a very strong executive. We may have a very strong manager who's elected, but there's no guarantee.
Again, the advantage with the council manager structure is you don't have to hope for that. Right? You can go out and look nationwide and hire the very best person for the job.
Sounds good. Are there other advantages to the council manager form?
When you talk to city managers, we're quick to point out that the big difference is, you hire smart people like us to, manage the services, and, that's the big difference. That's important. We're all, professionally trained, but I think equally important is this elimination of the structural conflict between the elected city council and the separately elected mayor that occurs in these strong mayor communities.
So are you saying that the strong mayor form tends to set up a power struggle between the mayor and city council?
In a strong mayor form of government that I have seen, it almost appears that there are two leaders at every council meeting: the strong mayor and the council president. And what I have seen is, even though they both live in the same city, advocate for the same city, oftentimes what I see and hear is a lot of friction.
The council thinks that they have the power, the mayor thinks he has the power, or she has the power, and if there's any controversy, it's deadlocked. And what it's doing is wasting taxpayers' dollars, because if they're arguing and they're not moving forward with solutions to the concerns, they're just wasting taxpayer dollars.
I think that I'm in a unique position maybe to talk about the city manager versus strong mayor system, because I've worked in both, and I've been an elected official in both. In my own city in Hamtramck, Michigan, we had traditionally a strong mayor, strong council system that butted heads, and that finally led us through a long series of steps of mismanagement that led us to receivership, to emergency financial management.
I see. So in the council manager form, you avoid this extra layer of conflict because the mayor is part of the council.
The council and the mayor have to be on the same page. There's just one voice, And there's debate and arguments about what the position should be, but once the position of the council emerges, the mayor's part of the council, the conflict's over. The position of the city is determined, and then professional managers like me can do what we do well, and that's implement the will of the elected officials.
And it just makes for a more effective system, less conflict, more gets done.
So in addition to having a professional managing the city's business, you also get this better organizational chart that allows for more efficient decision-making. Got it. But what about the whole accountability aspect? When people elect a strong mayor, doesn't that mean that they're more accountable to the voters?
Some people, when they first become familiar with the council manager form of government, they think of it as maybe not being very democratic, having an appointed person rather than an elected official running the day-to-day operations of a city. Folks tend to think of elected officials being more responsive to the electorate. But in practical terms, for the most part, barring a recall, elected officials can only be replaced at election time.
Sometimes that doesn't even work because name recognition is better, gets people back in. when people go in to vote, they just say, oh, I remember this name, and you know, he's not that good, but he's not that good.
In some cases, you may find that those mayors are very difficult to get out of office once they've been elected a few times, no matter how unhappy people are. The manager serves at the pleasure of the council. The manager can be fired by a majority vote of that council, and so that accountability mechanism is much quicker and much surer.
With professional managers, you know, we have to stay responsive all the time because, you know, we can be replaced at any time.
So I would argue vehemently that it's a better situation to evaluate on an annual basis the performance of someone that you pay to do the work versus someone that gets elected every 2 or 4 years, and you may or may not evaluate it at 4 years' time, because people get elected a lot of times for a lot of reasons that have nothing to do with the health and welfare of the community that they serve.
All right, so the benefits I'm hearing are professionalism, more efficient decision-making, and greater accountability. But what about personnel cost? Since you have to hire a city manager, does that make it more expensive than the strong mayor form?
I don't think that's true for at least a couple of reasons. The first is the salary of the manager and the mayor and the council members. In the mayor-council system, where you have a mayor that is running the city, they make a very good salary. And in addition to that, the council members tend to be highly paid and have fairly large staffs, right? Because they view their job as to check up on the mayor and to make sure the mayor isn't doing things that are wrong. In the manager form, the manager will have a salary that's probably no better than what that mayor would be making in the strong mayor system. And the council members are going to be making significantly less than the council members in the other structure. So just in terms of the salary basis, I suspect the salaries are smaller overall in the manager form. Then the second reason is just this cost of bad decisions. That where you have the manager form of government, the decisions tend to be better, fewer mistakes, and that's going to save you money over time.
There are some politicians who suggest that one way to save money, you know, especially now, you know, everybody's looking for ways to cut their city budgets. You know, one easy way is to cut out the city manager, and I mean, it's a laughable prospect, really. You cut off your nose to spite your face.
And after you look at it, a city manager will save you a lot more money in the long run than someone who has no real experience in running multi-million-dollar public corporations. So whatever the difference is in terms of salary or benefits that are initially given is more than made up in the form of efficient and effective management of the overall organization.
Now, even with all these benefits, do communities ever think about leaving the council manager form?
Even though it's more common for cities to adopt the council manager form, occasionally there are situations where cities consider abandoning the form for the strong mayor. And there's usually a couple reasons why this occurs. Sometimes it's really driven by a single or a few personalities that like the idea of being the elected mayor, and this is important to them, and they work hard to try to create that structure and get rid of the professional city manager. And in some other instances, it's just communities that are going through an awful lot of stress from a lot of change, whether it's significant growth or whether it's significant decline.
Sometimes it's a function of conflict within the city, and people look to a strong mayor, a strong political leader to try to resolve and solve those conflicts.
The advice that I would give to a city considering changing to a strong mayor is, for the most part, don't.
You are going to lose much more, I firmly believe, lose a lot more money in the long run by lost opportunity, by mismanagement, by who knows, financial receivership.
It's become far too complex. There maybe was a time in this country when a strong mayor made sense, but I don't believe it does now.
I think all of us want government that is responsive. I think we all want government that is cost effective. We don't want money wasted. And so I think we all want that. I think the city manager form of government is designed in such a way to better meet those ends.
It's set up to be more effective, more efficient, and less political than the strong mayor.
I think the reason why so many cities are going to the council manager form is because they want professional government. And this is a structure that puts you in a position where you're more likely to have well-managed, efficient, effective government.
Bottom line is, I absolutely am a believer in the city manager form of government. It is efficient, it is a fiscally responsible way to run a city, and it takes it out of the political arena. And that, to me, I mean, I'm a politician. I ran for office. But to take the governing, away and let the management be done by a professional is the greatest benefit of the city manager form of government.
Okay.
Okay, so that was a little presentation, a little bit long, but got some of the points out there. Joette Kuntz is here. She's the resident that first brought this forward, and there is a PowerPoint presentation also on this that residents will be able to go back and look at and digest and see what we're talking about. Do you want to do that, Joette?
So, how do we get it up here?
Jennifer will do it for you.
That one I can't read it, the screen's so small.
I don't know if she needs
This one right here.
I think this is it.
Yep, that's it.
Go over to slideshow. Yeah.
I can't see these words.
Well,
To the right. It's a drop down from the top.
very top,
Back.
slideshow, right there, right here. Right over there.
Yep, I did.
All the way to the left.
There we go.
Thank you. Thank you much. So I guess I have to talk about that I have lived here over 50 years. It was a very homey place when I came. If you wanted to vote, the clerk came to your house and signed you up to vote. Now, I'm not sure that Carrie could do that anymore. She'd be out of the office all the time. But that was how it was in 1967. One thing I want to stress, we are a township, we are not a city. Though we have the population of a city. We're 36,000 people. As I think it was Sam said, we want to, eventually we'll go up to 45. It was, I want to say 10,000, 9,000 or 10,000 in 1967. But townships, instead of calling them city managers, you call them superintendents. And there is Michigan law that talks about superintendents. And so that really is the word versus city manager. So this is a current org chart, which I don't know that I can make larger, but it has the treasurer's office, it has the supervisor's office, and the clerk's office. So the supervisor has the bulk right now. The elected supervisor has the bulk of the departments in the township. Now, I want you to remember that if you're 18 years old and you live within Independence Township and you get enough votes, you can be supervisor. I go along with the woman who talks about sewer and water, and I would want to be, if I was supervisor, I'd want to be really responsive to the people who live in the township. But I don't know, even as a person with a master's degree in education, that I would know anything about sewers or fire protection. So just know that that's what a supervisor comes in with several departments. I think it was 23 or something like that.
17.
17, okay. Why would Independence Township want a superintendent? Well, as I said, 36,000 people, $30 million budget, and if you add on water and sewer, it's $50 million. It's the fastest growing form of government in the United States. 75% of the villages and townships in Michigan, with over 2,500 people, have a manager superintendent. An example is Clarkston. Now, they don't have 2,500 people, but they have a city manager. Ortonville does. Oakland Township does. Grand Blanc Township does. You want a strong leadership of you want the strong political leadership of elected officials. You want the people to be heard through those people they elect. That's your board at the present, with one of your future board members over sitting in the audience. Having a manager does not take any power away from the board. They are the policy makers of the township. But you do want that managerial experience. Now, I can name 3 or 4 things. How many times does a supervisor or maybe any other elected official, trustee, whatever, go to a lawyer to ask for information? A city manager, a superintendent, could lower that cost of attorneys, city attorneys. You still will have a contract, but they will lower that fee. You want somebody, I think the employees want somebody that has nothing to do with political atmosphere, because every 4 years, or unless somebody retires in the middle of it, you will have a political period. This time, I'm aware from some of the employees that started about April. And things that were said, well, let's not do anything too controversial because of elections. So, and that's not just this time. I think I've told the story about a former fire chief who was a wonderful fire chief. He built the fire department, Chief Ronk. We had a kind of a businessman attorney at the time, or businessman supervisor, Mr. Smith, Bill Smith, who was doing a pretty good job, but he didn't buy Tink Ronk a fire truck. Tink was a real popular person, had lived here all his life. He ran against Bill Smith, and he won. Now, Tink Ronk was a good barber. He was a good fire chief, and he built the fire department. You know, he was okay, but he didn't have any background to go with it. So these things happen all the time. It's not the first time this has happened. So you do want somebody that knows the laws, the statutory laws of Michigan and townships. And you want them, a person who will work with the elected officials of the community. He has the education. I think that came out pretty well in the video. He knows the laws, he knows the rules. An example is we just had to buy some property for Parks and Rec because we didn't follow exactly the guidelines. The person that was here was not, I mean, the person that was under their management experience is no longer here. So it's not people we're talking about that are here today. But then we had to mitigate it and buy some more land, so it was all recreational. Those are the kinds of rules and things that are a problem. You also want all of your township directors to be working together, know what each one is doing and how they can help each other. I know you can't read this, or I can't read it without my glasses, but this is a statutory law of the charter township, such as our township, Independence, and appointing a township superintendent. So there are rules that you can read. and what they need to do. And there's a lot of them. So 3 pages of them. And that's written in the Michigan law. But basically, the duties of supervisor are to the duties of supervisor with a superintendent. The supervisor is the chairman of the board, and he presides over the township meetings. He runs the township meetings, not the superintendent, but the supervisor. The supervisor is also the chief assessor. Now, whether they're trained or not, I don't know, but that is his job under Michigan law. He appoints all the boards, the committees of the township. That's what the supervisor does. He is also the official spokesman of the township. We were talking to the Grand Blanc superintendent, and we asked, well, do you have a public relations person? No, the supervisor is the public relations person for the township. If you're looking for investment, then the supervisor goes out into the community, to the neighboring communities, and looks to attract investment to Clarkston or Independence Township. And he's the one that works with intergovernmental agencies like the county, the road commission, or something like that. The benefits of hiring a township superintendent is that he oversees the day-to-day operations. There's insulation between the administration and their political influences and the departments and the employees in the township. Hopefully the township superintendent is that steady hand. No matter what happens, he's the one that keeps things going. Because you could lose your whole board. I mean, we just had an election. We kind of know who the board is. But we could have had a brand new board. So it's more efficient. There's no learning curve. It's cost effective, and there's greater accountability. If you have a question about your dock, I don't know where the gentleman is, okay, then you can talk to the city manager. If you don't like his answer, you go to the board. But hopefully you get an answer. I tried to. Well, I just say it. It gives the township board and trustees a lot time to focus on what is the plan for Parks and Rec, what is the strategic plan for the community. You know, the community, I believe, says, you know, we don't want too much more development. We're not real happy with the Walden Road development. You have somebody that's there overall that kind of has an idea and can communicate that idea to people. Understand that Board of Trustees and Superintendent form of government, voters and residents they're the first say, because they vote for the Board of Trustees, from the superintendent to the clerk, the treasurer, the trustees. Thus, voters vote for the Board of Trustees. From this, did I say superintendent? Okay. Supervisor, clerk, treasurer, and trustees. Then they tell the superintendent what they want him to do, and then he works with the department heads. So there's still a great deal of input from the voters. Plus the supervisor is the person who's, if you're going to be on the Parks and Rec Committee, if you're going to be on the Planning Commission, if you're going to be on the Zoning Board of Appeals, that supervisor is the person who appoints those people. Does it cost more to have a Board of Trustees superintendent type of government? Well, it's hard to know, but you're going to have decreased operating costs because you're going to have a more efficient form of government. You have increased efficiencies, less mistakes, and I think mistakes, it's not sometimes that they're made, they're because they don't know. People don't know, and then they make mistakes. improved revenue collections and efficiencies, employee retention strategies, and the supervisor and the superintendent pay is based upon their assigned duties. So that kind of gives you, with the video, what a superintendent of a township is. And the reason you call it superintendent is because that's what Michigan law calls it. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Anyone will have a question? Anyone from the public?
Oh, you're gonna-
I have a question.
Okay.
What happens if, well, I guess my first question is, how is this supervisor?
Can you state your name and address, please?
Oh, yes, this is Tasha Shergan, 9393 Thornhill Drive. How is the supervisor picked? And what happens if it doesn't seem to be working? How do the people let the elected officials know that we're not happy and we're requesting change?
Well, I think the part of your question was answered on the video. The board hires and fires superintendents.
The video wasn't, the audio of the video wasn't working watching from home, so I didn't get to, and then Jim Tedder sends a link, but I didn't get to watch the whole thing because I had a delay.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. So basically, we'll say that you have a superintendent, the board feels that he's not acting in the best interest of the township or whatever the issues are, they fire him. They can fire him. He's an at-will employee. I mean, you know, I guess you go through a process, but he's an at-will employee, and you hire another one. You probably, you know, the first time I've talked to superintendents in other areas. You know, their suggestion is if you are going to start this, to have an experienced township or superintendent when you first start this, because they have experience. They're bringing their experience to you. And was there another part of your question?
How are they chosen?
Well, that would be the board's process. Usually it's like a recruiter. The municipal league or someone has a list of candidates, and so there's a search. Very much like superintendent, you know, when you start looking this up, one of the things that you get in trouble with, there's superintendent of schools and there's superintendents of townships. So make sure that you look at superintendents of townships, not schools. But the same process to hire is usually a recruiter. They give you a list. The board interviews them. They're looking, I'm assuming you would look for a good fit with your township. You know, probably you wouldn't take somebody from Grand Rapids maybe, or big city or something like that. I mean, that's just a thought of mine, that you would take somebody that maybe had township experience and, you know, whatever they decide their criteria is, they hire.
I'd like to comment on that too. Tasha,
Excuse me.
So one of the benefits too is that under the supervisor position, he hires everybody, all the personnel, the directors, and the staff for the township. She was asking about what would you do if you weren't happy with the superintendent's performance? So you're down to the level that you're critiquing the individual departments, basically, of the township, and he's the one who's overseeing them. So if you were to you know, I don't know if you would have an issue with him particularly but how the operations of the township was working, and he's overseeing it, so therefore he's in charge of it. The difference is that if the supervisor hires a director of a department that isn't performing and residents complain, there is no other action than to convince the one person, the supervisor, to correct that problem. No. Right now, you would have to convince the supervisor to do something about it. In the other form of government, you could complain to the superintendent or the township board, and collectively, the majority of the board then has the power to take action against that participant or that individual or that director that the supervisor may have been protecting or not, just hypothetically, I'm saying, but the mechanism is in place so that we would collectively get to discuss whether or not that person should stay or not, where we don't have that ability now. If somebody in our township that's a director in the township, a head of one of our huge departments is underperforming to our standards, or we don't appreciate, we don't agree with that they should be there, or whatever it is, we don't have the power to remove that person as a board. The supervisor currently only does. So that extra layer of protection, in the case that there is somebody there, it spreads it out amongst us and our decisions to be able to make that correction, which we right now don't have the power to do. The only power that we have as a board against a key player, personnel person in the township, is all we could do is defund that job. We can't hire them, we can't recommend new people. The only power we would have is just say, all right, that job doesn't have any pay anymore, so it doesn't exist. Where in the other form of government, we could talk to the manager, say we're having a performance issue. We could drive that to try to correct the problem or move to termination or whatever it takes. We don't have that ability now as a board collectively. So you're at the mercy of the one individual who's in charge of the 17 departments and all of their department heads. Does that make sense?
Okay, hold on, one second. Next time, can you let me know when you're gonna talk? Because
Sure.
you just cut. Yes, please.
The superintendent style of government gives the total board more power. If that makes sense to you. The total board, he doesn't report to the supervisor, he reports to the board. Pleasure of the board, yes, thank you.
Okay. Sure, please come to the podium, state your name and address.
Hi, Eric Line, 646 Cease Lawn, Clarkston. Sam, you made a comment, and I just wasn't sure. You just said, if I read into what you were saying, that the board, with the superintendent, the board has the ability to terminate a director?
It'd have to take 4 votes of the board to
And
direct.
so the board could terminate a director, so they would be able to go over the superintendent, bypass him?
No, you would direct the superintendent, who serves at the pleasure of the board, to terminate, where we don't have that ability now.
Okay.
Is what my point was.
Okay, so the board could terminate a director by voting,
Yep.
and then telling the superintendent that is a non-political position, that they would have to terminate somebody that the board decided they want to terminate.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, next, please.
David Hayward, 6764 Berwick Drive. I have a lot of questions. Obviously, the presentation was kind of vague as far as how much this is going to cost. We hire a superintendent, and they have a contract, and then we have to fire them, and then we have to find another superintendent. So we don't really know how much things are going to cost. It could be lower. It sounds like, it could be lower, it could be higher. We don't know. So you can't say it's going to be lower if you don't know. Do you know how many township superintendents there are currently?
75% of Michigan has a superintendent.
No, townships, not cities, not villages, yeah, just.
75% of townships is what she said.
Pardon?
75% of townships.
No, it's not what she said. The presentation said cities, including villages, cities, and townships. So I just wondered if she knew what it was for just townships.
No.
So I know other surrounding townships that we have currently do not use that. Waterford being one, which is twice the size of us as far as population and money that they take in. They do not use a superintendent. And honestly, my biggest concern, 2 things that I think that this should, I don't know what your plan is as far as trying to implement this right now. It should wait until the next board comes in. What, Sam, did you have you just had an odd thing? That's one of the things, because we haven't had a final on our supervisor yet. We still have an election in November. So there's no guarantee. I know that Chuck ran on a certain platform. I don't think Darwin is running on the platform of wanting he's running for a full-time position. He's not running for a part-time position. So I think that if that's the case, and back to the law that you guys stated, there's actually a law previous to that. So you can't get through, and of course I wish Dan Kelly were here to answer this for me. So you were citing 42.10 or .10, whatever you want to call it. But to get there, you have to go through 42.9. And 42.9 states, basically, I'll just read it to you. The township supervisor, township clerk, township treasurer, justice of the peace, and constables in each charter township shall have and perform the duties and functions required by such officers by state law. The township board may, by resolution, upon the recommendation of the supervisor. If the supervisor doesn't recommend in 42.9, you don't go to 42.10. So I can't see this happening now. It should wait. And honestly, my other concern, my biggest concern, and this is something that Chuck should be paying attention to, if we have a superintendent that's reporting to the board, I know how Sam treated Jose when Jose wouldn't do what Sam wanted. I know how Sam treated Brian Ottman, harassing him, all the problems, bashing him online, everything else. And my concern is how Sam's going to be treating another employee that reports to him. So this is going to be, Sam is going to be his boss. If we're equally treating the superintendent, if we're all responsible for the superintendent, or the superintendent reports to us. And Eric was making the point too. So if the board decides, well, I don't like this guy, I'm going to fire him, which may be a director or whatever, so then we'll just press the superintendent to fire them. You only need 4-1, so, or 4 votes. So those are my concerns. So I would just like to wait this out, and if you're going to do something like this, then do it with the next board sworn in, and if Chuck wins, then he can go forward with what he wants to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak? Then speak, yeah.
Lauren Rinke, 5139 Oak Park Drive. I just want to address that it seems that there are some residents who are concerned about the cost of implementing township superintendent, and I was wondering if the board or the presenters could please give an explanation for the plan for what that's going to look like. I believe in Joette's presentation, she mentioned that the salary would be determined based on duties. If you could expound on that a little bit, I think that would be appreciated.
Do you want me to answer?
Sure.
Yeah. So with the research that we've done, township supervisors, which is a part-time job, which I do want to add that, because right now the supervisor has no set hours, which is ridiculous. So going to a superintendent-style government would mean that we would actually have a full-time person at the township running the day-to-day operation, where right now there's no set hours. You can work whatever hours you want. So we've had supervisors that left for months at a time that and didn't manage. We had supervisors that just stopped coming, which is why this form of government's already in place. We're not creating this position. This position already exists in our charter. We've already had it in 2009. This isn't anything new. It's just a result of what happened before with another supervisor who wasn't performing, and then the township board had to create this form, adopt this form to be able to properly run the township for the residents, Typically what I've been hearing is supervisors in the part-time role are making around $30,000 a year doing their duties, and the superintendents are making they're making anywhere from $110,000 to $160,000 a year, depending on the population and the intensity, which is really, we're not talking about much price difference for the quality that you're getting, where we're already at $118,000 in January for the supervisor. So we're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars difference, having somebody who knows what they're doing come in and run the township, if that answers your question. Mhm.
Okay.
Bill Combs, 9740 Reese Road.
Mhm.
I would just like to point out that in that law, it specifies general townships and charter townships. And in the general township, the supervisor has to agree to the responsibility he relinquishes to a city manager type. In the charter township, the duties of the superintendent are enumerated. So when you look at that, you want to be sure you're looking at a charter township and not a general township.
Thank you.
Hello, Darwin Moore, 9165 Evie. I'm kind of surprised that this all comes up. I guess I'm not surprised with everything that has transpired. But at an election time that this comes up. I know Chuck has mentioned that he's for that, that's part of his platform. Personally, I do not think that is something that I would go for at this time. The video had some good points, but as most sales presentations do, I'm sure you could find a video that pointed the opposites out that could give some valid points the other way, okay? So it talked about it being like a board, like a business board. Government is not business, okay? There are business aspects of government, but government is not business, okay? It's not here for profit. They are here for the betterment of the community, for the whole community, not certain individuals, not certain people. If the government is not doing what they say they would do, or the people are not happy with it, we just saw they will be removed, okay? I heard it mentioned that the board has to speak as a whole. You're never going to get 7 people together that speak as a whole. I don't care if they're a board, I don't care if it's, or 4 people out of 7. But you are not going to get them to do that. So to take this forward at this point, while elections are still going on, I think maybe this should be tabled and waited. I'm not sure where this is going. I have seen this board collectively override the supervisor. I believe it was just the last meeting, it might have been the previous one, but he was overridden by the board. So you do have the powers to make things happen. You can defund things. There are ways to make things happen without doing that. I'm not saying I am totally against this, but I do think this might be a little premature in taking this action at this time and trying to force anything before the people get a say on who they want. You have 2 people running for supervisor that claim to have business exposure and experience. Let the people decide afterwards on how they want to do and what to go forward with. Thank you.
Hi, Marianne Hallett, 5799 Pine Breeze Drive. I just want to say congratulations to Carrie on her election. It is my understanding that there's a difference between a manager, you can correct me, between a manager and a superintendent. A manager serves at the pleasure of the board. A superintendent does not. The superintendent has full reign. So the superintendent does not serve at the pleasure of the board. And another thing, if I think it's Oakland Township that has it, that the clerk and the treasurer are both part-time also. So not just the supervisor, but the clerk and the treasurer are part-time. So anyways, that's my understanding.
Thank you.
From what I read.
What?
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
Okay.
not true?
All right,
No,
please,
if
all
you
right.
look at the statute.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
No.
Anyone else on the public? They didn't speak yet? Okay, please, state your name and address.
Good afternoon and evening, everybody. Frank Migliori, 4570 Woodhull. Section 4210 MCL says Township Superintendent. The Township Board in each charter township, charter, because one of the discrepancies is this is a charter township, not a regular township. So there are set differences in the rules. So my conversation here is more clarification, so just an understanding. The Township Board in each charter township shall have the power to appoint a township superintendent and may delegate to him any or all of the following functions and duties, which functions or duties, unless so delegated, shall be exercised by the supervisor. So the supervisor has the rights, and then the board determines under a superintendent what the rules and regulations are of the supervisor. Of the superintendent. It says then to see that all laws and township ordinances are enforced. That would be my role. If I were the superintendent, that would be my job. The second thing is to manage and supervise all public improvement works and undertakings of the township. So whether it be Paul's understanding or Richard runs Richie's or Sam or whoever it is, or the DPW or that, he's overseeing it all in all the departments. To have charge of the construction, repair, maintenance, lighting, and cleaning of all streets, sidewalks, bridges, pavements, sewers, and all public buildings or other properties. So Sam, your presentation of the funds and all that, you got to applaud, because candidly that's a very good process for the citizens to be able to know where those funds are coming from. And Paul, by your way, managing the funds as they go through and making sure that you're sweeping right on. We're going back, going away, and as you well know, when I was looking to be the treasurer at this moment, the conversation was, what do? We have to have freedom of money. We have to be able to pay. We can't lock things down. And candidly, that's a very important. And Carrie has to have what she has immediately. So the divisions of this particular township, charter township, have to be able to be managed. And if there's one person that's in it that's working directly for the board, they in turn are assisting or making sure in a professional fashion that everything is working along the way. It says then to manage and supervise the operations of township utilities, to be responsible for the preservation of property, tools, appliances of the township, to see that all terms and conditions imposed in favor of the township or its inhabitants in any public utility franchise or any contract are faithfully kept and performed. Comcast, anybody else that's in here, it's that superintendent that in turn is responsible for attending to that and reporting back to the board. He's a manager. And I hear these, it's a professional manager. It doesn't necessarily have to be township manager. It's a guy that's got that experience. It can be a seasoned guy in business that really understands development, that understands management, finance, human resources, all that. Those are the kind of individuals you're looking for, and candidly knows the board, knows the township, knows the character of the township. That's a very important part. Going out to Grand Rapids or anybody else to kind of go through a search process, this board could probably figure out exactly who they can bring in that really has some capacity to do that. To attend the meetings of the township board with the right to take part in discussions, but not the right to vote. There's no vote, but can communicate back and be a part of that. To be a member ex officio of all committees and township boards. So from the planning commission to any of the other, he's there to help out and be a part of that, or inclusive. To prepare an administration annual budget under policies formulated by the township board and keep the said board fully advised at all times to the financial conditions. So Paul, I don't know how that would work with you, but you're here to take care of the treasury, but that individual now has the capacity to work with you, to get that out, to make certain how that's done, and to work that community back to the community. He's not taking your job, he's not taking Carrie's job, he's not taking anybody else's job. What he's doing is seeing that and being able to now go through that and communicate that back. And if there's something he can contribute, work together with that. And all the employees that are underneath that are able to get in the middle of that to make sure it works. To recommend to the township board for adoption of such measures that he may deem to expedite. Sam, you said fire somebody, he's got to be the HR guy too. So you just can't fire somebody. There has to be some means of which all employees are held to that account, because he's going to be held to the set of rules that are there. If he, even as an at-will employee, he still has certain functions in certain capacity, when to report, what's their review, is there a review process for the employees, how they're performing, what's the annual aspects of that, is there a raise, things of that nature. And yeah, he's gonna make a $1.25 and $1.50. I mean, that's just a typical manager to be able to get that point. To be responsible to the township board for the efficient administration of all departments of the township government, and to act as the purchasing agent for the township, or under his responsibility, delegate all duties and other other officers and employees. So this property that's he has to have real estate experience. He has to know how to go out to the government and get bonds, and to go get, to deal with, in turn, are there now government fundings going on right now? And I think that right now there's a lot of different government fundings that are available, but we have to go be able to get with other townships and identify what that's all about. To conduct all sales of personal property, which are the township board. So if there is responsible for that, it's not just, it's the board saying, hey, look, here it is, this is what we do, and he's gonna now consult with everybody here to make sure that that's working and how it gets done. And then it says to assume all the duties and responsibilities as personnel director of all township employees, and to delegate such duties to other such officers or employees. So from the director levels and everything else, that if the superintendent is now being there, and again, he's the one that's going to determine, along with the board, what the responsibilities are of that superintendent. You guys pick. And then to perform such duties that may be prescribed by the act, because there is a Michigan legislative act to do so, and by ordinance and direction of the township board, of which are not assigned to him. So again, it's very legislative. It's here, sitting here, and it's out there, and it's been since 2003. It's published. This is currently what's on there, and I think the 2009 is the concern, is does section 42.9 exist for this evening to what any decision has to be done? And I suggest that would be taken a look at, I don't know, by legal counsel or how to do so. But before any decision gets made, let's make sure that 4209 is looked at so that we're not in violation. Okay, I mean, if you want to make sure that there's an election for a board, let's follow the legislator that the state of Michigan has identified, so it gets done. And that's all my comment is to wish you the best. And Paul, I thought that was a really good, you did right there, getting it and getting the money. Congratulations to you all for being back. Thank you.
Okay.
I want to talk, yeah.
Okay.
So,
sure.
all right.
All right.
Mark Ranchaw, 6677 Langle Drive. I watched the presentation, and there's a couple of things. I question the data that the presenter said about, a village manager will make the legal fees cheaper. I need to see that data. I'll call that into question. Number two, these village managers and managers, these people, wasn't showing that presentation, they leave like there's no tomorrow. When there's a better opportunity for them to go somewhere, they take off. And I don't understand, what I'm trying to understand in all of this, because I'm kind of new to this as far as Independence Township, why the board wants to usurp power from the voters to elect a supervisor and give power to the board. Sam said, you have the power to defund anybody. Any job you don't like, they're not performing, you have that power right now. So I don't understand why you need more power and we don't have a right as citizens to pick our supervisor. And to sit there and say, like, we're saying, the supervisor's not competent or whatever. Well, look across the street at what you guys just voted on over there. Was that competent on that PUD? And now we want to give you more power? No. If Chuck wants the job, he just got elected and come up and be the supervisor. We don't need a part-time supervisor. I don't want you guys 8 supervisors we're going to have. That's what we're going to have. Why would I go deal with the superintendent when I'd have to go deal with you guys if I have a problem? And like I said, these people, if you do your homework, they leave for the next job and the next job. There's so much turnover with these village managers, it's unbelievable. They're always looking for the next big payday. So you're gonna be going through people left and right. And who only knows if they don't get along with certain personnel on the board, they're gonna be out of here just as quick. They're gonna be out here just as quick. So I think you guys should really think about this. And if you really want to put this to the voters, It should be the moratorium on the ballot and just say, hey, let the people decide. Should the people be able to decide, vote for a supervisor, or let the board have the power to elect a superintendent? That's my view. Let democracy rule. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to say something.
All right.
I wanna say-
Okay, please, you can speak up.
No, I don't know since.
Because since he doesn't live here and he's your buddy, he can talk.
Excuse me, Sam. I mean, everybody's, I need can someone that doesn't live in the township, can you speak in the podium?
Yes, they can. Okay.
Okay.
So, Troy
All right.
Coffin, 9962 Walnut Hill Drive, Davisburg, Michigan. Real quick, I just want to respond to Ms. Nella Matthew, who made a sly remark on Facebook about me not living in this district when she says, thanks for attending our meetings,
This is
especially when you don't
inappropriate.
live here. Always
No,
nice
this
to
is
see you."
inappropriate. It's got
This is
nothing
not-
to
this
do
has
with
got
what we're
nothing to do
talking
with what's
about.
on the
That's
agenda.
public
It's
comment.
agenda.
Run the
I
meeting.
understand. I understand.
We're taking comments right now on the agenda item that's on the floor.
Got it.
Okay, all right.
Jesus.
I just want to say I resent that comment, and it's disgusting.
All right, okay, guys, please, all right. I mean, he's allowed to speak, he's gonna come and say something.
I just
Well, it's not public
Okay.
comment, we're on a
Yeah,
topic
I
right now.
understand, I was thinking was regarding.
So
the-
I want to
the-
address a few comments that, this isn't about you didn't, all right. No, I'm just saying, everyone knows I supported Jose in the last election. I did a lot of work.
Okay, that's nothing to do with me.
No,
and
it
then-
does have to do with
No,
it,
no,
because you're saying that,
No, it's superintendent, we're talking about the superintendent.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we gotta get a superintendent because the supervisor's incompetent. Is that what we want to say? Okay, now listen.
I would like to speak on that, actually.
Okay,
I'm glad that you brought that up.
Okay, great, go ahead.
Yeah, great.
All right.
Okay, so Emerald Goich, 6533 Deerage Drive, Clarkston, Michigan. So, to your comment that he doesn't know what he's doing, doesn't have managing skills, you said that, you're blue in the face from saying it. Your presentation that you just ran through, every single city that was presented on there, I work with them closely. I would never want them as an example for anything. They're more of examples of how to run it down. So that said, it doesn't help your presentation. You say that your presentation also stated that elected officials are not knowledgeable, they don't have experience, they don't know what they're doing, all of those things. That includes all of you. You have no clue what you're doing, yet you ran for this office, knowing that you don't know what you're doing. Also, okay, he's out, allegedly, from the election. He's in. He's a businessman. He knows, he has stated several times, he's very knowledgeable. He owns companies, runs companies, manages employees. Why are you guys taking that away from him? I don't understand. If he doesn't know what he's doing, this is your presentation and Paul's. So I'm referencing you too because this was your proposal. Why are you taking it away from someone that is capable of doing the job? He ran on his capabilities. He's not, allegedly, and according to you, okay? We've all read the text messages of you telling him who to fire and who to hire, and when he didn't do it, you did what you needed to do, right? So you did your part, your threats and your whatever you needed to say. That's not how you run. So who's to say that you're not gonna do the same thing to a superintendent? That you're gonna tell them what to do, and then they're not gonna do it, and then who's to say you are not gonna get with the others and say, are you sure you don't wanna do this because now your vote is 6-1? How do we know? Because we know it because he's a public official and he released it to the public as he should have. How is a superintendent that is an at-will employee doing this? How do we know what you say to him? Again, the previous superintendent proposal was under a certain supervisor that coincides with the time that you got a house for $5 from the township. You can smile all you want. I mean, it's a fact. You got a house for $5.
Is that part of the discussion?
Yes, it is. It's part of
Oh,
The
I thought it was part of
Excuse me, let her finish.
helping him get elected.
Excuse
Is
me.
that not
Don't
part of
deflect.
it?
Excuse me.
Do not deflect. We
Oh.
do not need to
We're not
deflect the
deflecting.
conversation.
Can you let
No,
her finish?
do not. You can make fun of me all you want. If you speak 5 languages, you can make fun of the English that I speak, okay? Until
Okay.
then, sit there and do not talk back like that.
Get to the point.
Let her
Rudely.
say, please.
Rudely.
Let her talk. All right.
Okay?
Oh.
Okay. I can talk to you in 5 different languages. I'm
That's
sure
great.
4 of
That's
them
great.
you want to
Start
understand.
talking then.
Please.
So, I am. So don't make fun of people that are talking to
Oh
you.
my God.
Okay, when you calm down, let me know when I
I'm
can
calm.
speak. Okay, cool.
Pick a language.
So, I'm the only one that you can understand.
Okay.
Okay. So during the time that there was a supervisor and a superintendent proposal, it coincides with the time you got a house for $5. Okay?
I don't know that.
How did you don't know that you got a house for $5 because it's public record?
No.
So that happened. How do we know how these people are made to do things when they are sent a message and they don't follow through? Which one of you can say you will report it? Because you didn't report his messages to Jose. So how can we trust people that have quietly sat and endured other people's abuse and didn't say anything? So who is the accountability to? Which one of you? Can anyone answer my question? It's a legitimate question.
I'll do it.
Which one of, I'm not asking you.
Oh, I don't get to
You
play-
are
I
the
don't get to
person that
play?
sends the text messages.
I don't get to
I'm
play.
asking which one of the others that knows of said text messages reports them.
There's nothing
and
wrong with
says-
the text messages that
There's
were
a lot
sent.
wrong with the text messages. Sending in a text message that if you don't fire this person, are you sure you want the board to have a 6-1 vote against you for everything you propose here on out?
You're just saying stuff.
I'm not.
Please, let her
There's a
talk.
text message. It
But
was
that-
published right here. How am I just saying it?
I don't, who
Okay,
cares?
listen. This is not the Biden administration. This is not, I'm not, you are not the House Speaker, okay?
Are we
You
timing
can't tell
her?
me what to believe. You can time it all you want. Go ahead. Do not, I'm asking a question, no one's answering my question. Who does this person respond to?
Ask Jose. He answers everyone's questions. Go see him tomorrow morning at 7 and get an answer from him.
He's out, so should I ask Chuck?
He's not out yet.
He will be. So I'm asking, you guys are proposing this for his seat.
This has nothing to do with Jose, this manager.
It
thing.
does.
He's already gone.
Okay,
He's
you
already
just
gone.
said it. Didn't you just say that he's not?
So how does it have to do with him?
Okay.
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 I haven't control. Sam, you please let her
Sam,
finish.
he's either in or he's out,
I will
Sam.
let her finish, please. Let the resident finish.
Still 5 minutes.
You guys are asking me to stop talking because I reached my 5 minutes. You still have not answered my question. Who does the superintendent respond to when they are being bullied, and who is speaking up for these people? It's not a
Excuse me,
hypothetical, it's
please
a
let her
fact.
finish.
There are facts. Hypotheticals is me saying, hypothetically speaking, Sam sent a threatening text message to the supervisor, and how did everybody else respond? That's a hypothetical. A text message that I have seen, and that everybody saw at this meeting. You haven't, because you weren't at that meeting. We were. There was a specific text message. It has to do with the fact accountability. If someone threatens someone else, which one of them will speak up? And none of them have raised their hand yet. That's all I'm asking. It's very simple. Someone should have said, yes, I will.
I will speak up.
Thank
Speak
you.
up,
Right.
Dave.
Once you're in.
Excuse me, please. You want to
Okay,
come up?
so that's it.
All right.
Get this under control.
Your
would you?
proposal was for superintendent,
Christ.
assistant superintendent, and a supervisor. So you have 3 paychecks right there. You guys last meeting made a huge deal that Jose made a proposal for an audit without a budget. You guys are here making a proposal without a budget for the same exact thing. So what is your budget for this proposal? None of you had a number.
and none of you responded. Thank you for answering my question.
Okay.
David Hayward, 6764 Berwick Drive.
Yeah, please.
No, if that were to happen, I would stand up for that person. If they came to me and said, I'm getting harassed by anybody on the board, I would come forward and speak to somebody in HR. I would come to whoever the supervisor is. I would bring it to the public. I don't care, whatever happens. Take it to a lawyer. Because I would stand up for that person. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I guess, thank you. You want to talk, Paul?
Sure.
Paul?
So there's a reason that I think a number of folks had some very good input. There's a reason why there's no motions on this. I did that on purpose. And it started out, there were going to be some motions on it. And, before it ended up being put out and published, I thought, okay, yeah, this is not something you rush through. This is a giant change for the township if we did something like that. And you don't just do that willy-nilly. And so that's why I took those off before it became published. Because I initially had stuff on it that the board would act, and I pulled them off. I don't think it's the sort of thing that you do in a hurry. It doesn't need to be done in a hurry, and it doesn't need to be done right this minute. So that's why it's not on there. And so if this is going to happen, it'll be at some point in the future if the board elects to do so. And I think there was a lot of good information shared, and that was the intent, and input from folks. And I suspect that there'll be more input from folks the next time it comes up if it does. And that's how it should be. So that's all I got.
All right.
I didn't see the text messages. I was sick that day, and I didn't watch the meeting because I just thought I'd feel sick from watching it. So I didn't. I never watched it.
Okay, I'm gonna talk.
Okay, so, yeah.
All right, I apologize for getting upset with her. This is all Jose's slate that didn't win that's coming up here jumping all over me. But I do want to talk to the residents of the township who are.
They're still residents.
The rest of them. Okay, the rest of the residents of the township that don't have any skin in the game that, Jose, you're gonna control her?
Yeah, but.
Are you gonna control her?
Can you please be more respectful to everybody? That's all.
Yeah, I'm respectful.
Like Paul did, everybody is respectful to Paul. Okay.
So I'd like to just talk to the residents who may watch this on TV and to get a little understanding, because there's a lot of emotions here. A lot of people have, different issues why they're talking for whatever political reasons. But I've been around the township longer than pretty much anybody up here. I've been involved since 2003 when I was first appointed. I know a lot of what goes on in the township. I was fortunate enough to get appointed to the board. It's been almost 2 years. I don't even know if it's been 2 years, maybe something like that, whatever. Long enough to know how complex this township is, okay? I've been in business my whole life. I own a construction management company. I manage people all day long. That's all I do. It's big and it's complex. I've gone to all the departments. I go to the fire department. I've been at DPW. I put a lot of time and effort into learning the process. I've built facilities for the township in the past as a donation. I've helped them save money on contracts for the township. I've been more involved than pretty much most anybody. Planning and development is my passion. That's why I'm involved in it. That's why I got involved in the first place. When I said that he's gone, what I meant by that is that the term will be over before we could get a professional in here to run the township. It takes about 4 months from the time you get a consultant firm to start looking, and about 90 days after that to get somebody. So it's the first of the year is when we would have a manager. Okay, so take the rest of his term out of the equation. We're not trying to do it before his term is up. That's not even possible. But what is worth noting is that in my 35 years of doing construction and 31 years in business, this isn't a job for somebody that has even a lot of management experience. People asked me to run for the office. I'm not an expert in the 17 departments that require to provide the service that we deserve as a taxpayer. We're being undermanaged and underrepresented for the money we're paying. And everyone always complains about how much money we're paying. Well, buy a bunch of stock in a company where the CEO is the programmer and see how far it goes. It's no one's fault that you don't know what you don't know. I admit that I don't know enough to manage this township proficiently, and I think I'm a pretty damn good manager. And I think that Chuck is a good manager, but you know what? Municipal management isn't Chuck's business. Managing municipalities is a person's profession. They have experience in it. They bring a lot to the table. The employees in this township and the morale is pathetic. Everyone is distraught. There's no leadership. They're all struggling. No one knows what's going to happen. The place has been in turmoil for the last 4 years since Pat left, and then Jerry came in, and then Jose got in, and everyone's running for office all the time. Nothing's getting done. There's a list of ordinances that haven't come through, things that we should have been doing that could be controversial. The road thing we tried to present in May. No one wanted to see it until after the election. There's so much disruption and so much less direction that the employees deserve some consistency and professionalism and management, or we're going to start losing them. If we were to continue on the path that we were, I have no doubt that we would continue to lose more qualified directors than we already have under the current leadership, which personally I believe was all related to lack of managerial experience. Not being able to work together, not being used to being in that high level of management, and not knowing how to work out the things, and you start losing people. So jump on me, I'm a bully because he won't do his job because he doesn't know how to do his job. I'm good with that. I'll take all the hits. You can bring them all to me. I know what I've done for this community, more than most, and I know why I'm here, to try to solve this problem and put protections in place. Well, along the way, I found out how poorly it's ran and how I feel as a taxpayer being witness to it. And it's really unfair, and I don't care what anyone says. I'm here to provide oversight, and I can tell you that we are not being represented correctly, and none of you that are defending this other position and management, you're not doing it because you know anything about how the interfacing with the DPW and the supervisor is, or you don't know how the interfacing with the other departments are. You don't have any idea what's going on in this township. You don't know all what's going on with the employees. You haven't been here like I have 20 years. You're just doing this for personal reasons because you believe that the person that you want can do the job. Well, let me tell you what, they can't. And I wouldn't trust anyone in this room to do it, because this job requires somebody who knows what they're doing. And it's a very complicated thing. And that's what this whole process is about. Now, maybe it came to light because of what happened in the last couple of years to everyone to go, yeah, it's time. Just like all the other communities, 75% of the communities in Michigan. Doesn't matter if you're a city or a township. We're way bigger than most cities. So that's just a talking point. We have 36,000 plus people and a $30 million budget. And you telling me that the residents went to the ballot box and said, I'm going to pull this lever because I'm sure that Chuck or Jose or Don are the best at running municipalities that there could possibly be if we put a search out for the best people. These guys are the best people. No, they didn't. They did it because of popularity or their belief in the direction of the development of the community or how we want the township to advance, and all of that power still stays with the supervisor. That's done through the boards and committees that are appointed. When Jose got in, he changed the planning commission hoping that we would change the direction of the development of the township. That is still the supervisor's job, and no one else can take that away from him. But you cannot honestly tell me that the people in this township are voting for people because of their knowledge of union contracts and DPW work and dealing with the town, the county, that's not why you're voting for people. I don't vote for people for those reasons. And it's ludicrous, and it's just, it's way overdue for the township residents to be managed by somebody that's worthy of the job, and we get our value for our taxes, you know, and it's not personal. It's about what's right for the people. It came up before the election, and nobody wanted to bring it up. It's just needed. And if that doesn't make the case for you, and you want to argue over you know, other stuff, that's fine, but that's the bottom line. We are in dire need of someone to show up and do the job and work with the employees and give them direction, because in the lack of direction, everything in this township for the last 2 years has become stagnant. Everyone's flying under the radar. Nobody's stepping up and doing anything because there's nobody backing them up, whether for it or against it. There's just nothing. It's just dead. And all the employees are sick of it, and it's just getting worse. We're putting people with no experience in this department, then we're moving them to this department. You know, it's crazy. All of that would be avoided by somebody who knew what they were doing, and the 6 of these can police me if they need to, and Dave. The 5 of them and Dave can all police me if it gets out of control. But I'm aggressive because it takes months and years for me to drive it home to them that they're not doing a good job, we're not being serviced correctly, and the residents and the employees are suffering for it. And if everybody doesn't like it, tough. That's the truth. Truth hurts. I think I made my points.
Okay, okay, so yeah, I will tell you, I didn't think anything that just was said in the last 5 minutes was needed. It didn't need to be said. I'm really disappointed that it happened. There's no point. There was an election. There is absolutely no need for us to attack anybody. And if residents want to come to the podium on topic or in public comment and call us out, they got every right to do it, and we shouldn't interrupt them. We decided to run for office and sit up here. I've been attacked many times. I don't think I've ever got mad or gone after somebody. We chose to do it. You have to accept that. I also think we need to have the kind of decorum where we're not attacking each other given the totality of circumstances, where there's been an election and there's going to be changes. It's unnecessary, and it makes me sad. We didn't have to do that just now. The opinions are moot. There's been an election, and we're going to have a new board. The most important thing is this board needs to be able to speak as a board. And that means when the board makes a decision, we support each other, and we don't go and attack after it. I've always felt that's important. I've been on the wrong side of votes a number of times on the board. But at the end, I then support the decision and try to move forward with that. I didn't think all that was necessary, and I'm sad that it happened. So.
Okay, thank you, Paul.
That's it.
I just would like to say a few words and add something. I don't mean to attack any board members tonight or anybody in the public, but I just want to point out some things. We have many supervisors that surround us, and I know some of it just have high school and the lack of experience when they start. When I start, I remember one of the greatest things that I have an asset is we have great directors here in the township. I disagree with the comment, respectfully disagree about some of the employees or directors. We have good employees, we have good directors, and we've done something working together. I remember when I walked in, one of the main concerns from the public was development. He's right. But what I did as a part of my leadership is appoint new board members. But that's not true that I can appoint people, no. It took time to work together with the board because I can submit recommendations, but I cannot just say, this is the guy, period. No, the board has to agree with me with 4 votes, and we agreed to have few more people to change the direction. And why we change the direction? We change the direction because I promised the people I want to bring some change about the development. We make some changes as a board to make a change for a positive direction. We create the open space community because people want to preserve more green land. Then we bought 39 acres for a Clinton Wood Park to bring more green land. So we did something addressing the issue. It wasn't just me sitting there and not giving direction. Actually, we took action and working on the board together. We done that. The parks, when I walked, I remember Sashaba Plains, a lot of people say Sashaba Plains is in very poor condition. Now, if you go Sashaba Plains, everything is fixed there. Brady Lodge, thanks for Sam, you helped me, we worked together, and what the board approved, we put heating and cooling, new flooring, new roof. Now we have a rental property there in Brady Lodge, and we getting revenue. Every board meeting, we have a lot of people renting the venue. 4 Seasons venue now, and we getting more revenues. That takes leadership. It's not randomly happening things just because I sit and do nothing. I brought those recommendations forward to the board, and the board approved it. Right? We work with Lisa McLean. I flew to DC. We work with her staff. It's hopefully, probably Chuck is going to deal with that, but as far as I know, it's coming $5 million. It's going to address the problem with the connecting more water in the south of Drayton. That took leadership, relationships, because as a supervisor, I have to build those relationships and trust, because you have to not just build trust. And Lisa McLean office don't give money to everybody. It was building the trust, and then it's a little bit of me knocking on doors, talking with the elected to be able to get that. That was something positive that's gonna bring a positive impact to the township. So I got criticized because the 4-day work week, Sam says nobody likes my leadership, but that allow us to retain good employees, allow to capture more employees, and actually in the beginning, I was totally against it. Paul and Kerry came and convinced me about it. We worked together, even though we disagree in the beginning. I tend to agree because we didn't raise taxes. And just by moving like that way, we retain good employees and help us to hire new employees. If in the future, Chuck or the new administration want to hire employees, believe me, the 4-day work weeks will allow us. And we still work 40 hours a week. I mean, yeah. So full time. It's not like some people believe we work less hours. In 1 year and a half, I think we accomplished a lot of positive things, even though sometimes you disagree with me. But in the end, when we started, it was a good thing. We worked together and we brought good results for the township. So when it's about you talking about my experience,
Yeah.
please, I just be respectful, and I'm not attacking you. We have good directors, and that helps me a lot, because when we have a problem, I ask the director, hey, this is the issue, what we can do. And yeah, and sometimes I have to reach our attorneys. Every township and city have an attorneys. And that helps us if we need to address some of the issues to be able to correct it. And then bring a decision, because in the end of the day, we're saving money, but make sure we are legally protected. We're saving our township money to get the lawsuit. So basically, what I want to say here is that in some of the things that you attack me or the things that you believe that's wrong, I think overall the township is in good shape. And we've done a good work overall, and we have good directors, and I trust the directors doing their job. Every morning, I talking with most of the directors, DPW, Parks and Rec, and see where we're going. And there's so many projects coming soon. I'm gonna have a healthy transition with the new administration, making sure that know where I'm living and what need to be complete. So I just want to add that tonight without having more agreements with the board or anything tonight. But thank you. Okay, we're good.
No, I just want to make a point. You just made a great point. Every single thing that you just said is what the supervisor does. You didn't bring up anything that had to do with management and day-to-day operations or running the township. Everything you did is what the supervisor does. That's exactly my point.
Okay.
Which is good for the supervisor. But asking directors what to do, asking directors things is not it. You know, you just made the case. Everything you said was just an ad. It wasn't the day-to-day operations that we're talking about.
I oversee operations, but okay. Trustee Jim Taylor, state your name and address.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Jim Tedder, 4900 Lakeview Boulevard, Clarkston, as an observer tonight, unfortunately. When this idea was presented to me, actually about 1.5 years ago by another resident who was actually one of our appointed leaders on one of our committees, I balked at the idea, and then in January, Joette sent all of us, I was a relatively new board member at that time, and sent all of us a letter, and I remember it dealt in part with decorum of the board, and it also dealt in part in proposing consideration for this model. Now, I do support the fact that at the very least that we held off until after the election to discuss this. I understand that the optics weren't ideal, but this is as I've seen in doing my own homework, this is an idea that's been floating around for, gosh, close to 20 years, when Barb Clark had to step in as an interim or a de facto manager or superintendent at that time. And from my perch, I remain open-minded to the concept. My key focus is continuity and what that means for township employees. I do have a number of questions, and I'll continue to do my homework, but for the benefit of the public and for the board, I did reach out to the Michigan Townships Association, who is an objective authority for all 1,240 townships in the state. And from what they provided me on a preliminary basis, there are 49 townships in Michigan that do have a superintendent form of government. Probably the two most germane to our interests are Grand Blanc Township, 40,000 residents, and probably a commensurate budget to ours. There's also Oakland Township, slightly in excess of 20,000 residents, and they've had a superintendent or manager model of government for some time, but there are also 47 others throughout the state, throughout various counties in Michigan. So I know Mr. Hayward had asked for that information. I just happen to have it. There are 139 charter townships in the state as well. And my understanding is the charter townships not only protects a township from annexation from adjacent cities, but it also allows for us to establish our own fire departments and our own municipal services in the way that we have. And so as a sophisticated township like Independence, I'm going to remain open-minded as we kind of process through this. I think by evidence of that, this still remains a germane topic for the board. I would at least ask folks to remain open and, consider the fact, I don't believe this is in any way a political move. I'm far removed from, the presentation and promoting of it, but I think just objectively, we will now, come January, township employees and township residents will have experienced, if my math is correct, 5 supervisors in as many years, so, or maybe even less than that. So those are my thoughts for now, and I look forward to additional discussion. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, we're now taking action, it seems like tonight. We're moving to, I guess, a closed session.
Yes. Make a motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of discussing a confidential legal opinion regarding the contract with NOTA for services and municipal credit and community credit contract pursuant to MCL 15.268H and MCL 15.2431G, and it is 8:37 p.m.
Support.
All those in favor?
It's a roll call.
Roll call, okay.
Treasurer Brown?
Yes.
Trustee Morocco?
Yes.
Trustee Nalamothu? Yes. Trustee Ritchie?
Yes.
Supervisor Aliaga?
Yes.
And Clerk Newbeck, yes.
session at 8:59.
Make a motion to return from
Hold
closed
on.
session.
Still, there we go.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, we're back on session at 8:59 PM.
I'd like to make a motion to return from closed session and resume the regular meeting at 8:59 PM.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, communication of future agenda items, report building department, July 2024. 2, NODA expansion right 2024. 3, fiscal 2024, actual to budget comments for period ending in June 30, 2024. 4, communication, new Class C license, Charter Township of Independence, and Dominions of Park Recreation and Senior Advisory Committee, May 22, 2024. Okay, board member comments? No? Okay.
I have one comment, I guess. It's not often I get to quote Darwin Moore, so thought I'd bring it up to, like he said, I guess I'd like to applaud all the people, all the candidates that ran for office, because in running that and being political, you do expose yourself and put yourself out there, and it's probably one of the hardest parts of the job, or getting this job anyway. So congratulations to all the winners, and but I applaud all the people brave enough to stick their neck out there and try to run anyway. So thank you, Darwin, for bringing that up. So.
Okay. Okay, I need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Support.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?